Welcome back to the Wrestling Related Podcast, a podcast where the topics are related to wrestling and we're related to each other. I'm Josh.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Cory.
All right, so it's been a couple weeks since we've chatted. We were talking about AEW Dynasty last time and some of the happenings. And, well, I think we've figured out that when we've got three of our schedules and we're trying to coordinate, sometimes it's more difficult than others.
Holy, we all have kids.
Cannoli.
Yeah. Now, we did get in our predictions because one of the things was Backlash. Dustin was the reigning and defending champion from AEW Dynasty. He wound up taking the title from me on that one with 11 correct predictions versus my 9 and Cory's 8.
Good job, buddy.
I thought there was no way any of us were going to be able to stand a chance to get you because Backlash had 5 matches. Of those 5 matches, Dustin and I got 5 out of 5. Cory did not want Jade Cargill to win so bad that he decided that he wanted.
I would rather jump on a bicycle with no seat than to vote for a Jade Cargill match at this point. Now, send her down to train with HBK for the next 3 to 6 months and then see what we got after that. And I may change my tune. But right now,
3 to 6 months.
I don't know if 3 to 6 months would do it, but I'm all for her going down and training with him for 3 to 6 months.
We're talking 5-6 days a week, Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She had a couple years with people like Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall and Dean Malenko and William Regal.
Hang on. But you're talking about at AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they met up, twice a week? Once a week? Twice a week?
Yeah.
No, we're talking send her down to Orlando, like, full time.
I mean, twice a week for a couple years. That can work. I think back when we were wrestling, it was once or twice a week for like 9 months. So twice a week for a couple years should work, but it doesn't work for everybody.
And why was it 9 months for some of us? Because of other people in the class, and you can only go as fast as the slowest person in the class.
This is true.
6 months. 6 months for me. And then they put me in front of Harley.
Mine was 5. And then you beat me over the head with a garbage can.
And the lips.
Ouch. Yeah, and then I gave you a stink face with a foam butt.
Forgot about that. AIB.
I don't remember that either.
The hardcore match, AIB Anarchy.
AIB.
Oh,
it was a garbage match. Yeah.
The clown, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. So anyways, on the wrestling, on our wrestling predictions, Dustin successfully retains because ties go to the winner. A draw, winner retains the championship. So
okay, so was I the only one that call a run in on the other match? Now I got the wrong person that run in, but I called the run in on the Bloodline and.
Yeah, we didn't make any bonus predictions. All we did was just here's who we thought was going to win. Because with that pay-per-view, it was like, what are they going to do? Are they going to add 4 more matches? Are we going to add 2 more matches? Are they going to add no matches? Like, nobody knew.
I am a fan of the 5 matches. Just being 5 matches on a pay-per-view. Or PLE. I'm okay with that because they were able to give each match, even if I didn't like it, a significant amount of time. So
I was okay with it
as opposed to having a 4.5, 5 hour pay-per-view.
I was okay with it being at noon because I didn't want, and the fact that after watching a match there that they had, I was ready to just leave. Like the none of it was really memorable except for the French crowd. That was the hottest crowd I think I have ever witnessed at any pay-per-view, PLE, live event. In my opinion, they rivaled even old school ECW in Philly.
Sure.
They were just hot, boiling hot. It was
Couldn't
so fun to watch.
understand half of the chants, but it was fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was also fun to see AJ Styles try to figure out how to actually work as a heel when they kept chanting in French. He is phenomenal.
They love him.
Every time he did anything.
Yeah. Yeah. He brushed his hair out of his eyes for the 500th time and they cheered.
Yeah.
So
it was hilarious. So fun to watch. And I will say, when they came out, like, listening to them sing along with some of the songs,
yeah,
it was so fun. The only other time I've thought a crowd was that into it would have been at last year's Backlash for Bad Bunny, when he came out facing Damian Priest.
Weren't they in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, they were in Puerto Rico, and that crowd, they were singing his song, and just watching that pay-per-view, I was sitting there getting chills just from the energy that the crowd, it came straight through the television.
Cool.
And yeah, and France was,
I look forward to watching it.
Was right up there. And hey,
Dustin,
it was good.
Yeah.
You're being quiet. Your thoughts.
Let's talk about chills real quick. I'm going to back up even another week.
Okay.
And let's go back to the Will Ospreay, Bryan Daniels, and Josh's son come down to visit me this past week.
Yeah.
And I made him sit down, and we ended up watching the majority of Dynasty, except for what he didn't watch. And we watched the Will Ospreay and Danielson match. And
where'd you send our mother, who absolutely can't stand wrestling?
She was upstairs, ignoring everybody.
Oh, okay.
So here's what was funny.
Put her in timeout.
Here's my impression of your son, Josh. Match is going on. He's doing this, and he's doing this, looking on. He glances up, and he goes,
Yep.
His reaction was it was so funny. I'm sitting over there. I'm having more fun watching him react than I was watching the match for a second time. And it was like, and then there was a couple times I glanced over and he looks back down at his phone. Then I'm like, no, Logan,
you're going to miss it.
Open your eyes. And he goes, okay. And he watches and he goes, oh,
it was so good.
Ow. It was such a good. And for those that are listening, if you didn't know, I was acting like a teenager looking at his phone, and then all of a sudden you look up and see the TV and see something going on. And it's like,
this would be a perfect time to remind them that they can always watch these podcast episodes over on YouTube.
But nobody wants to see our looks.
No, it was, yes, absolutely fantastic match. And speaking of Will Ospreay, I did see that coming up at the next pay-per-view at Double or Nothing, Will Ospreay versus Roderick Strong for the International Championship.
So that brings us to that one that was on Dynamite, right? Or no, was that Collision that they had that little impromptu battle royal thing at Daly's place. So I talked to you, Josh, and I said, the thing I liked about that match was there was not two people that was in that match that I wouldn't want to see in a singles match. I mean, you had Will Ospreay, you had Dante Martin, you had Lance Archer, you had all these guys that you're watching, and it's just like, man, ooh, here comes another, ooh. Yeah. And it's just one right after another, and it just made for a really good, I guess you could call it almost like a Royal Rumble-esque type of match.
I know.
And speaking of great. Lance Archer, I love the way that he is booked as a big guy, because he comes in fresh and he's just clearing the house. But after he's kind of been in there for a little bit, he's getting a little bit tired, and then he starts to have the chinks in his armor where they're able to kind of get advantage of him and start to get one up. I love that, because it's very realistic.
Right.
I hate when you have a big guy that is just an all-out monster, because unless you are Brock Lesnar, it's not believable.
So he reminds me a lot of of not really making this comparison, but reminds me a lot of being able to work similarly to like a Undertaker, in the fact that he works really well with smaller guys.
Right.
Now, does that mean that he can work everybody because everybody's pretty much smaller than him? No. He knows how to work as a big man with a smaller guy, and he knows how to sell for the smaller guys and whatnot. I mean, Taker recently in an interview talking about how his favorite matches are guys around that Shawn Michaels size, because it plays well, the bigger guy and the smaller guy. And if you can get a bigger guy to work that style and a smaller guy that can play to it, then it just makes for good TV.
So speaking of the bigger guy and the littler guy, it was one of our very first episodes that we did of the podcast, the wrestling related podcast. We were talking about favorite wrestling WrestleManias or whatever. At one point, it was just a really quick little thing, and I made the comment that I loved WrestleMania 3. That was like my favorite. And I think it was Cory. You made the comment about King Kong Bundy and Hillbilly Jim and that little man
and squishing the little guys,
which reminded me. I saw a video just this past week. It was a little short on Facebook or whatever it was, and it was Lance Archer, and I think he was in Mexico or somewhere, and one of the little guys was up there, and he was, top of his head is literally almost touching Lance Archer's belt, and he's reaching up, and he's poking Lance Archer in the stomach. And I'm just sitting here watching it, and I'm like, oh, no. And sure enough, Lance Archer took one too many pokes in his belly, and he just pie-faced this guy, sent him about halfway across the ring, and I'm like, see, that's believable.
Yeah. You
have a little guy poking a guy that's over twice your size. All he really has to do is pie-face you. That's it. And it was just, I love Lance Archer.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's good stuff.
Now, that was also, you mentioned the Daily Place Dynamite. That was also the one where there was the Tony Khan driver, correct? Where Jack Perry comes back and they give Tony Khan the Tony Khan driver.
It's Tony Khan. Was all that really necessary? I mean, headbutt the guy once and he's out for like 3 weeks.
Necessary,
he kicked
no.
him in the stomach and he back bumped.
Yeah.
I mean, or tried to.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but at that moment, I hit you in the stomach and you took a bump. I stopped it. I'm like, I ain't watching that. And it wasn't until like 2 days later, Josh is like, oh, so you didn't see everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to see this again. So I had to go back and.
I had missed that. It wasn't worth it. I had missed that when it was happening because I don't know. I was watching, I think I was probably watching the draft, the NFL draft, which is actually a draft done right. And it was fun to watch. But when I'm watching the NFL draft,
we'll get there.
And the Jaguars are up, and I see Tony Khan with a neck brace on, and my first reaction is like, he's pulling an Andy Kaufman.
Yep.
Like he's living the gimmick, and it was hilarious.
That's funny.
But then my second thought was, or is he making fun of Vince McMahon? If you remember the steroid trials. And then all of a sudden it was like, I don't know, but it was still funny.
You know what I think it was? I think Tony Khan, because of the draft and because they're getting ready for the NFL season, he had so much to do in Jacksonville that he's like, I have to stay here for a few weeks.
Right now, TV.
Right. Yeah. So it was fun. I mean, is it definitely cartoonish? Is it a little, and especially with some of the comments he made like days later, is it a little reminiscent of like WCW demise? Yeah. But I also, did you guys catch that comment that he made on NFL Live comparing So he called WW or AW.
Oh, yeah.
He said, we're like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. Pepsi, okay? So you could say Pepsi and Coke. You could also say Pepsi Phil. But we're like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. And WWE is like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And when he said that, the two like NFL Live interviewers, one of them just starts laughing. The other one chuckles, and then he's like, well, we need to kind of switch gears, and we need to and at first I was like, oh great, you pulled straight out of the Vince Russo playbook, and you're gonna bury yourself.
That's what it is.
That's what I thought.
Vince Russo playbook.
But then I heard that a report that was actually NFL Live requested that he come on there to talk about that, why he had the neck brace on, because they knew from everything they're seeing online, he's creating a lot of controversy and a lot of dialogue, and they're like, no press is bad press. We want you on here so we can have a clip that goes viral, so say something ridiculous.
Well, there's a difference between press, and then there's a difference between peeing on the shoes of the guy that can make your life hell.
But so then here's the flip side of this, the whole Pepsi thing, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, he made a comparison to Harvey Weinstein. It's not just Vince that has a lawsuit pending. It's WWE that also has one. And all of a sudden I thought about Phil Brooks, CM Punk, and it was like, oh, well, maybe Tony Khan is just saying, tell me when I'm telling lies. Because the comparison, it was somewhat appropriate.
It was there, yeah.
And fitting. Like, inappropriate for what he was doing, but appropriate as far as the comparison goes. It got a chuckle out of me. I got a kick out of it. At the same time, part of me thought back to, like, Attitude Era and seeing how much people on X, Twitter, and social media, the internet wrestling community, was so mad and bent out of shape over what Tony Khan said. And I was like, y'all don't remember the Attitude Era then? Because the things that were said from both companies towards the others made that look really weak. So it was just like, we got insulted.
But it seems like AEW has tried to compete, yet maintain a friendly working relationship to some degree, allowing Y2J to go on Stone Cold's podcast and things of that nature. This is not friendly.
No, I think early on, the first couple years they did.
He's outgunned.
Yeah. Early on, the first couple years, they definitely did that. And then I think they've gotten to a place where they're like, hey, there's no reciprocation. You guys haven't done anything. Because I know, like, even at the WrestleMania, the topic was brought up, what about having Dustin there? And they won't return phone calls. They won't even talk about it. They won't even mention it. They'll bring, people from Impact on with the belt, whether it's Jordan Grace or it's Mickie James, and they'll say, hey, here's a TNA, Knockouts champion. But they want nothing to do with AEW from WWE's side. And so I think it's just a case of, fine, if you don't want to do business with us because you see us in a certain light, well, we'll just play it up.
And I even made the comment that if they really wanted me there, I'd pay for my own way. So
right.
Still nothing.
I mean, come on. Well, you weren't that far away, were you?
I wasn't. No.
Goodness.
I can hop a plane in Charlotte and get there like that. Now, is it bad that? Hold on. Is it bad going back to the TK driver when they picked him up for that? I had for a lack of better words, the brain fart.
Oh my gosh.
And I had the best friends move instead of the Young Bucks move. When they used to pick him upside down or pick him up for a pile driver or whatever it was, and then jump off the top rope with two boots right in the butt as they come down. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well for Tony Khan. And then he does the forward flip or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, okay, that was fine.
No problem. I'm sorry. the not knowing what to do with his legs and
wrapping
crossing
it
his
around the
ankles
heads
and then wide and then really wide and okay, make it even more awkward than it has to be.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yep.
Yep.
It was a funny spot. That's about it.
Okay, let's get to the draft. Speaking of a draft, we'll talk about the other one.
Do we have to?
Do we have to?
Anything worth mentioning that's worth anything? Or were we all pretty much thoroughly disappointed?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go down this road. Josh and I have talked about it before. It's not a draft. Quit calling it a draft. It's not a draft.
No.
But if you want to do a draft,
let's go.
If you want to do a draft, do a draft. Draft from NXT, draft from the Indies, draft from those people that are out there that aren't currently with WWE, whether it be SmackDown or Raw.
Sure.
If you want to switch people back and forth between SmackDown and Raw, like Josh said last week, it's not a draft.
We got a trade.
It's a trade, and
Right.
that makes sense. But no, they're playing it up as a draft, and it's not a draft.
No.
And especially seeing how you're going to turn around and you're going to say, okay, Cody Rhodes is only to SmackDown, but yet next week Cody Rhodes will be on Raw or whatever it may be. You're not. I mean, it just proves that it's all entertainment for them.
Okay, so
right
the only really move that I saw that was worth mentioning was what? Damage Control going to Raw.
Which is why I made that prediction with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill winning.
Now, was Nakamura on Raw before? So, because he's on SmackDown now.
I think so.
Who knows?
He doesn't interest me at all, so no big deal.
Right. But aside from that, I did like that they said title holders stay put.
Yeah.
Except for Damage Control.
Right, but to Dustin's argument, I get that. But
Yep.
then again, we only have one women's tag title going on, so that
Right.
okay, whatever. We do have a primary, a secondary, and tag belts on both brands, so those stay put. Makes sense. Got it.
Yeah.
But aside from that, really, it was disappointing.
It wasted time when they could have had wrestling matches.
Yeah. Like, and Cory, you and I were talking earlier today
because
I was kind of catching up. I was behind this last week, and when I got to Raw, what was it? It was like 23 minutes in before the first match actually happened, and that was without the draft. Like with the draft, it was over a half hour in, and it's like when I watch wrestling, I want to see wrestling. And what the draft did for me is it clearly defined the difference between AEW and WWE. The World Wrestling is a descriptor for an entertainment company. It's an entertainment company that is about World Wrestling, whereas AEW is an all-elite descriptor for their wrestling company. One is focused on wrestling, the other is focused on entertainment. And it was like, I came wanting to watch wrestling, and there wasn't. And so it was like, I fast forwarded through most of it. I flipped to other channels. I stopped watching altogether, and then just waited until the next day. And I think I consumed it in less than 10 minutes because it was just boring.
Now, with that being said, I know we got this whole new era thing going on and whatnot. They made some changes already. They've made some adjustments, righting the ship. However, it is a transition. It is a learning curve. There is no flipping the switch and now it's all this and then that and it. No, but it's going to take time for it to adjust, and they're going to have people that are going to push it and say, "Well, let's go ahead and start it with this promo," and then promo goes long, and now we're into 20 minutes of a Triple H promo.
Right. No, if I was going to fantasy book next year's draft, and I do think they should still do the draft because they are an entertainment company that is a wrestling company, and they're trying to look very sports oriented and try to appear that way. I'm all for that. Bring that in. But if I'm to fantasy book, the way they do it next year is the draft is a draft spectacular. It is a separate event that is only available to stream on Peacock or on Netflix, whatever the case is.
And put them on a timer.
And correct. And you put them on a timer. It can be a 10-minute, drag it out. I don't care. I watched the NFL draft for like 3.5 hours, whatever it was, and I watched all of it because it was entertaining. The other thing that the NFL draft does is they're constantly talking about the people that may potentially be picked in this spot. What I would love to see WWE do is, yes, Raw and SmackDown are drafting up from NXT, but they're also drafting from some of the top indie prospects that are out there. And what they do is they say, you know, you get Michael Cole on there and he's like, hey, I know WWE, they have had their eyes on this talent from Stardom. Her name is Julia. She has been completely demolishing the women out there in Japan, running with the Stardom Championship. She's amazing. Here's some of her highlights reel. She's got this ability, that ability. This is why she would be a perfect fit on this show because of these matchups. And you take that 5-10 minutes, do a quick little video package, and then you start to build her up and build the anticipation, which, what if she comes in?
Now, I have one adjustment to that. My one adjustment would be that Michael Cole's got enough on his plate, and if they need some guys to just continue to talk endlessly and aimlessly for hours on end about wrestling, I have some suggestions.
There's a bunch of them, yeah. But yeah.
No. Like right here.
Correct.
Come on.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, and I think that doing that would be cool. Let NXT be the one that they're going in there drafting. NXT can be involved in the draft too. But NXT, they have less money. So because they have less money and they've got less time, they can't quite draft as many, and they're looking at some others to try to get. And let them be part of the free agency trade as well. But you have that moment, the week leading up to the draft, where even on Raw and SmackDown and NXT, you can talk about the free agency moves. How there was a trade that was made between Raw and SmackDown for this guy and this guy.
You could even take that from and make that opportunity of mentioning some of the different talents that maybe contracts are coming up to be then free agents. Some of the guys on the indies that aren't signed yet, Matt Cardona, or some guys that are maybe over on Impact that just got out of their AEW, Matt Hardy, things of this nature, and really play up the free agents thing. And that gives them a springtime opportunity there instead of just the Royal Rumble surprise of this is the guy coming out, sort of thing. But
I think anyways, it would be interesting, and I know they've toyed with the way I'm talking about. You bring in some of these top indie stars that most people haven't heard of. If we go back to, was it like 2017, 2018 when WWE did the Cruiserweight Classic? Like that's what they did. It was a special event, and they were talking about these people and these talents. And you
they
bring
did the
it
same thing with
there.
the women at one point too, didn't they?
Yeah. And so like they could do something like that, but run it as a separate show. So then if I'm wanting to watch Raw and SmackDown, I'm not having it diluted with you bringing out I Show Speed to just scream into a microphone. Like I don't care. Like if I wanted to hear him scream into a microphone, I would just turn on YouTube.
And not every new Bloodline member has to be a run-in.
Correct.
Hey, we just signed this guy. He happens to be related to, oh no, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Did you see the footage of, there was a not really a behind the scenes, but there was a different camera angle from behind the Michael Cole table. Where he rolled out from under the ring and he was a little late. But he
barely had a hand on the ref.
He barely had a hand. He covered. Actually, I think the ref covered very well.
Right. The ref felt a brush by his ankle, and he turned to look at it.
He felt the ring apron flip
the
up.
The fear of what was going to happen next made him jump out of the ring.
Was that Vince's breath?
So okay, let's talk about them real quick, and kind of segue into the King of the Ring coming
up. The Gorillas of Destiny.
Is that what they're called?
Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa.
What they were called in New Japan.
So I'm watching today, literally today, I was watching SmackDown from last week and SmackDown from last night. And I had this epiphany, this little thought that just popped into my head. You have the King of the Ring coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You have some matches that have been happening in the matchups. Sheamus and Gunther, I will watch that match every single time they want to wrestle for the remainder of their lives. I will always watch that match.
Sheamus said that was the last one. There will never be another one again.
Whew.
He said that was what, number 3. He said there will never be a part 4. Like he's done.
Man, I don't blame him.
Right.
I don't blame him. But he gave it to Gunther too.
Yeah.
But this is pro wrestling, buddy.
Never say never. Never say never. But Terry
Funk retired 67 times.
Yeah. I did 4. So anyway, I'm watching this and this thought popped into my head. You know, you have what's the one that's actually the Tonga son of Haku that's actually in the King of the Ring tournament?
Tama Tonga.
Tama Tonga. Could this be a reincarnation of King Tonga? Because Haku, back when the Tonga Kid was around, was King Tonga.
Oh.
I'm just sitting here thinking,
I hadn't thought about that. Okay, and that match,
they'll play it up.
That was actually really good.
It was.
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've seen Tama Tonga wrestle several times, so I had high hopes for that, but it was against Dawkins, right, from Street Profits,
right.
And
there was one little mishap, but
there was a slight little issue in there, but I wasn't sure that we were going to see Tama Tonga's ferociousness and aggression with everything he does in the ring. I thought because he's going to tone down a little bit of that Japan style that he's so used to, because anybody else that's come from New Japan over, they tone it down a little bit. He didn't tone it down. I was in for it. Like, I was like, hey, this is awesome.
Yeah, I'm okay if he doesn't tone it down as much, because I've seen too many matches as of late that seriously need to turn it up.
Mm-hmm.
That look like we've got softballs coming in. That what was it? I saw I went down the YouTube rabbit hole and watched some of Cody's matches from Impact, from TNA, back before he bleached his hair, and was in the ring with some guy I don't know and I don't care, and this guy was like throwing the slowest, softest punches, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you'd get drilled.
Yeah.
No.
It was almost like a hardcore match with a steel chair being swung at your face, and you throw your hands up to kind of protect. And there's about that much space on national TV when you get hit. And don't get me wrong, I like Sky Blue. I think she's a very talented young wrestler, but she should have just put her hands down and ate it. In a hardcore match.
It wasn't as bad as what was that? The Dark Order attacking somebody, and the punches to Dustin Rhodes that were like
punching.
I mean, the distance was like here. Just somebody was just punching the mat,
mat so far off. Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah, where they had a bunch of the indie extras come in, and they were just so afraid of hitting anybody and never getting a call back. That was pretty bad.
But I don't have any room to talk. I mean, I did that run in on Billy, and he told me in the back, just don't hit me. And when I swung the belt, I missed him by a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he gets mad at me later. When you're swinging and hitting, hit me. Wait. You said, I don't care what I said. Okay. Can we redo it? Nope, I'm done. Yep. He was a nice guy, though.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are we talking about here? Did we just completely wash over Backlash?
we're just talking about any of the only.
We're all over the place.
With me, with Backlash, the only highlight was the French crowd. Everything else was just kind of like meh. I mean, there was one bad match, and then the rest was just kind of like meh. It was like I was glad it was a PLE and not a pay-per-view. If it was a pay-per-view, I would have wanted my money back because you only gave me 5 matches and none of them were that outstanding. So I would have felt cheated out of it. But with a PLE, it's like, okay.
Careful, but Dave Meltzer gave the main event 5 stars.
The only way it gets 5 stars is because of the audience participation. And I do know that he weighs audience participation.
How many of those stars were earned by the French crowd?
At least one of them. I'll be fair. Like, that match was a 4-star match.
Not to say it was a bad match. And I'm not going to go in the stars, but that match was definitely a hacksaw.
It was a hacksaw. Yeah.
In fact, well, the Jay and Damian Priest, it started slow, but it kept me entertained.
Yeah.
The first match with the Bloodline and Owens and Orton, that one had me entertained, and I love the fact that Owens jumped off the guardrail and then Orton stands up there and he's like, yeah, and I forget that, hops down and then just kicks somebody.
Right.
I was like, love it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what was the other one? Oh, the Triple Threat Ladies.
Yeah.
It was like,
that was an Orange Cassidy.
Okay. That was an Orange Cassidy. The women's tag was
Batista.
The absolute worst tag match, we'll say, that I have seen in a very, very long time, and that includes indie matches.
Yeah. You know, I like... we've talked about Jade Cargill in the past. I love Jade Cargill's look, and I think she has a ton of potential.
Yes.
And her backstage personality is great.
Her backstage is good.
Like a great
She's
person.
not the worst person on the mic either. Like, there are so many other people that are worse.
She just needs to connect her real personality with the mic work. Just turn the volume up, sweetie. You're doing good.
Part of the issue I have with Jade Cargill is part of the issue I had with Roman Reigns when he was really being pushed. Part of the reason that I have with Bill Goldberg. I hate when somebody is feeling shoved down my throat, like they're forcing me to be a fan. And then I hate it even worse when you're billed as some huge monster and it's not believable. This past week, you give me Jade Cargill versus Piper Nivens, and you expect me to believe that Jade Cargill is actually going to do the jaded on Piper Nivens? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. She's not that big. She's not that strong. Thank you, Piper Nivens, for putting her over. It still wasn't believable. Like, you're going to give her a chicken wing and lift her up and slam her face first? No, you're not. No, you're not. You have just busted your rotator cuff even attempting it. Like, no.
Hers and Piper's.
Correct. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. And to me, that is where you have stretched me too far, and now you have completely lost me and turned me against you. Because
you've insulted my intelligence.
Correct. And it's
you've insulted me.
Just don't do that. There's a million ways to beat somebody. You don't have to do that. And then when that is the only move that you have, that's the only way I can beat her. Well, now, if I'm to believe that that's the only move that you can use to beat her, the only way that makes sense is that's the only move you know how to do. Which makes me think even less of you. And it was like, give her a DDT. Give her a schoolboy. Come on, we know you guys like that. The big boot was good. When she hit that big boot, I was like, there it is. 1, 2, 3. And she kicks out, and I was like, oh, you're going to do the jaded again. This is pathetic.
And she's big enough that she could go with just a boot. And if you can do it right and you can do it well.
She does it. Her boot, I'll give credit where credit's due. Her boot is one of the most disgusting pump kicks that I've seen. Because it looks like she's just blasting him in the face. And maybe she is, but
it's better if they get it, if she gets it to the face.
True.
But when she doesn't get her foot up high enough and she's hitting him like in the gut or in the chest or something like that, it doesn't look near as powerful.
But some of that we've got to give to the person that takes it, because they're either too close or they're too far away. And I've
Or they're
watched
just scared they're
several
gonna
of
get hurt.
hers,
It's a
especially
dance.
recently, and it seems like her distancing on how she throws that is really close. It's just the person taking it. They're not expecting her to go and cover as much distance, so they're either too
Right.
close or they think she's going to cover more distance and they're too far away.
And you get the right person, even with a move that seems not as flashy, giving it, and there's a million guys out there doing super kicks. But when Shawn Michaels does it,
Mhm.
that's the end of the match.
Correct. And I do know something
guys
about...
can do super kicks.
Yeah.
But when one guy does it right,
Yep.
there's a million people that can do DDTs. But when Jake did
Jake
it,
does it.
It's
it
different.
was over. And it wasn't just because he was the only one doing it, because he wasn't the only one doing it. You know, there's
Pile
a
drivers
million
with
guys
Paul
out
Roma. Or not Paul Roma.
there.
Paul Orndorff.
Paul Orndorff.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody gave
Because
a pile
he-
driver like
Because he just grabbed a 300-pounder and he jumped in the air and then kicked his feet out.
Yeah.
Nobody else, everybody else is just sitting.
I just heard a story just the other day told I guess Bischoff was in a Q&A and somebody asked him about the story about Paul Orndorff knocking out Vader while he was wearing flip-flops and Bermuda shorts, and apparently it was Vader was being
knocking him out
told
just,
by
but he just beat the
did
tar
knock
out
him
of him.
out. Well, he didn't knock him out, but according to Bischoff, what had happened was, Vader was a bully. Vader, he flat out called him, he was a bully. That's just who he was.
Yeah.
And he did not want to be told where to be by the producers. And Orndorff happened to be producing a segment, and he walks up to Vader and he goes, "I need you to go over here." And Vader just blew off Orndorff. So Orndorff swung and knocked him out, but knocked him down with one punch, because Orndorff was a tough guy, period.
A legit tough guy. Yeah. But
So speaking of, let's can we switch around and go off of the Fed and let's go to AEW? I would like to talk about real quick Tony Storm's bump on the stage with Tony Schiavone just kind of looking down at her when Serena Deeb punched her. Tony Storm sells so perfect. Tony Storm is just... I am amazed week after week after week. Oh, yeah.
I must have looked away at a moment, but now I gotta go back
and went like a board and just
talk about. That's what I gotta go see.
Like
it was,
yeah.
And then we talk about, I'm a big Pac fan. I loved him when he was in WWE,
Really?
when he was Neville. I like him as Pac. I absolutely 100. As far as a worker, he is an amazing worker. Sometimes I still struggle with he's got a really strong accent, and sometimes it can be really hard to understand what he's saying. But the same goes with Will Ospreay from time to time.
Yep.
And pretty much anybody with a strong accent. I still can't understand a word she's saying. But Pac is a great wrestler, a great performer. He can take it. He can give it. He can work anybody. And there's some matches that are coming up that they're starting to build that I think are going to be phenomenal matches with Pac and going for the why can't I think of this guy's name? The Rainmaker.
Continental Championship with is that the one?
It's the one with isn't it the Rainmaker? Yeah.
Kazuchika Okada.
I can't pronounce his name. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Gesundheit.
That's gonna be whatever. That's going to be a great match.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a phenomenal match because when he did the Rainmaker on him, he ate it, and he ate it really well. Doing the jumpy, spinny thingy and taking the face into the knee, I didn't like. I thought somebody was going to break a jaw, but it was good, and it's going to continue being good. They have some matches that have some very good potential coming up in AEW pretty soon.
And the jumpy, spinny thing you're looking for is the triple Lindy.
Yes, with Rodney Dangerfield. Yes.
I was slightly disappointed, and this is only based on my own hopes and dreams.
Preferences.
When I see that this last week Kenny Omega is talking about, hey, we're going to have Anarchy in the arena, and it's going to be the new version of Elite with the EVPs and Kazuchika Okada and Jack Perry against FTR and 2 other people that are going to appear sooner than you think. When he said that, I was like, Motor City Machine Guns, Motor City Machine Guns,
Which
Motor City Machine Guns. And then I see
please.
Eddie Kingston come out, and I was like, oh. And then I saw Bryan Danielson, and I was like, oh.
You mean the new Terry Funk? Eddie Kingston, the new Terry Funk.
So
I like Terry Funk more than that.
Right. So the Machine Guns leaving Impact is like, ooh, getting excited because they are really fun to watch.
Yeah.
I saw a match from like a year ago. It was those guys against Switchblade and some little black dude. I don't remember his
Chris
name.
Bay?
That's it. And that was a pretty good match, other than somebody didn't kick out at the end and they on time and they called the 3. But I was like, yikes! These guys have stepped up their game since the old days of TNA.
Right.
Well, and I'm just going to apologize, Cory and Josh. I'm going to apologize. I was wrong. It's not Pac and Rainmaker they're doing. It's Switchblade, Jay White, and Pac. They're trying to aim to. I think I'm not a huge Jay White fan, but the man can work, and I think those 2 are going to be really interesting.
I am a fan of Jay White. I like Jay White.
I'm not a fan, but the guy has something that it's something that's been said about me many times that I'm sure people will agree. He's got a punchable face. I
thought Josh had the punchable face.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that was mine.
Oh.
At least for me, anyway.
Oh. I've had so many people say, you just got a punchable face. I'm like, let's go.
Right.
let's go.
No, when Jay White and Juice Robinson were coming into AEW, I was so excited because as I was getting back into wrestling, I was looking for a lot of that Japanese wrestling. And so then finding Bullet Club and seeing the different iterations of Bullet Club. And it was like, oh, these guys are so much fun to watch. And I probably like Juice Robinson more than any of the other Bullet Club members just because he is so out there. And it's just hilarious because it's like, it's an arrogant form of goofiness that it's like, would you take something serious once in a while? And then all of a sudden he looks like he's taking it serious. And it's fun. I miss him. Yeah. And how he wound up with Tony Storm, I'll have no idea.
I just missed the cardboard cutouts.
The cardboard cutouts were hilarious.
I missed the cardboard cutouts.
Something I saw recently. Did I see that Chuck Taylor may actually really be done? Like his ankle injury is actually worse than they thought. And so he needs surgery now, and they think that because of how it's
it was like a necrosis in the bone or something like that might cause more of an issue. Now, granted, I saw that and I was like, oh, that really sucks. And then the first thing I thought of is,
but it could be a work.
But Texas Tornado, like,
lost his foot.
It's not like somebody hasn't wrestled Zach Gowen, the one-legged wonder.
Right.
I mean, come on.
I mean, that guy got a match with Hogan.
Yeah, and Matt Hardy, I believe his is fused. So it's like, it's possible if he wants to. At the same time,
if he wants to, sure.
And that was like even something that I was listening to Adam Copeland on Chris Van Vliet's podcast, and I haven't finished the full interview because that thing was a long interview. What, an hour and 45 minutes or something like that?
I haven't listened to it.
We can talk.
Yeah. But he was talking about, the neck and the possibility of coming back.
You ever listen to the Edge and Christian podcast that they had before they went back to the Fed?
Way back, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so entertaining. I could not get enough of it.
Yep.
It was just
Yeah, even Adam Copeland talking about his neck and his injury, and he's like, even when I realized I might be able to, that didn't mean I was going to, because at a different stage in your life, you have more to think about than just what you want to do. And so to think about all of that and take everything into consideration, he even said, had Beth said no, he wouldn't have even thought about it. He's like,
do I consider this? Yeah. Yes or no?
Right.
Do I even consider this?
But yeah, I had heard that rumor.
I'm enjoying Copeland against every member of the House of Black.
House of Black, yes, thank you. Every single one of those matches has been like, okay, this is the highlight match of the night. Let's go.
I'm just waiting for him and Julia Hart to go at it. I think that's going to be amazing.
That's going to be so good.
Did you guys ever watch the little vignette that I was telling you that you had to watch with Julia Hart after Dynasty?
Yeah.
Did that not just give you chills? Oh, yeah. Julia Hart, she's there in tears, and I'm going to spoil it for you because you had plenty of time to watch it. Okay. She's in tears at the end of it. You know, how could I
just
lose whatever
YouTube links. That's the only way I'm going to find it.
And all of a sudden, this big old hand of Brody King comes on her shoulder and says, "Now we rebuild."
Yeah.
And Julia Hart just kind of looks up, and I'm just like, ooh, are we getting new members of the House of Black?
Well, that was my thought after I saw that. Same thing you're thinking. And then with 2 weeks ago, was it Adam Copeland against Buddy Murphy?
Yep.
Where he was like setting up for a concerto, or Buddy Matthews, and it was like, is he going to? Yeah. Is Adam Copeland going to kind of side with the House of Black and become a member of it? And is that kind of like
kind of want to tease that?
Well, and could that be some weird combination of like the Brood meets the Judgment Day meets the House of Black, like hybrid?
Hodgepodge.
And then you could go way out there and say one thing that House of Black doesn't have is, you have 3 members of the House of Black that are singles wrestlers, but form a really good trios.
Yeah.
Well, what about, you guys mentioned them earlier. What about the Motor City Machine Guns coming in and siding with the House of Black and becoming the House of Black's tag team?
I don't think
might be way out
would
there,
be a good fit.
I would rather see Motor City Machine Guns team up with Bullet Club Gold. So then you get the bang, 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 bang guns.
the Batista.
Okay, that was.
I'm getting way out there now. So,
yeah, those were out there.
Yep. Oh, hey,
no,
speaking of AEW,
guns need their own thing. Yeah, AEW.
Speaking of AEW is coming to Des Moines, and I have tickets.
We know. Yay! Who'd you going with?
I haven't figured out all of it yet. I know Logan and I and Justin are going. That's all I know for sure. So
Justin with a J, not Dustin with a D.
Correct, Justin with a J. So I know we are going, and the seats that I got are directly across from ringside, or from the hard cam. And it is the front row as soon as the risers start to go up. So where you see Jon Moxley always make his entrance, and then
stick your foot out.
He turns to go down that little thing. Well, actually, he walks like past, and then he comes back and goes to the ring corner. We're right there.
So about the time he throws the bottle?
About the time he throws the bottle.
Okay.
It's also about the time that if all of the BCC come out, that's usually where Claudio winds up kind of walking up and standing there. So that's the general vicinity, and I'm excited to see Dynamite and Rampage live because I have only been waiting for that for 5 years.
Hope it's a hot crowd so that they come back.
So do I.
Yeah. Here in about a month and a half, I got to head down to Orlando, and I was sitting there thinking, well, I kind of go through Jacksonville, and I started looking, are they going to be at Daly's place when I'm heading down? No, they're not going to be there. Never mind.
Well, if you're going to be in Orlando, you could also go see NXT.
NXT, yeah. And where's TNA? TNA's down in Orlando too, aren't they?
I don't
at
know.
one point.
I've watched a couple of the latest NXTs. I'm not watching NXT.
I miss NXT.
I want my
UK.
money back. I want a refund.
There's some people on NXT that I really kind of enjoy watching.
Cool. I'll wait till they hit the main roster.
Now the downside is I always struggle with NXT names, and partially because when they get to the main roster, they change their names sometimes. So I don't know who's who. Who's the girl that Booker T trained? I like her. She was the champion recently.
She's a little tiny, looks Asian, but has a Hispanic name. The little tiny one.
And she can work.
Like she gets on her tiptoes to touch that top rope.
Talk about something, I'll figure it out.
No clue. The only one the only female now in NXT that I even acknowledge, there was, what is it? Bea Priestley, or what was she called? What is she called now in WWE? Blair Davenport. And she was just called up to the main roster. Cause that was one of those, like, hey, she was in AEW and they had somebody with her and they let go of her. And I was like, what are y'all thinking? Like, she's good. But I think it was just a case that they hadn't offered her a full-time contract and somebody in WWE saw the potential and snatched her up real quick.
I'm thinking of Roxanne Perez.
Roxanne Perez.
That's
there
it.
You go.
With Pop Rocks.
Yeah. The one that the other one that I was thinking of, and I don't even know who she is, but she does like, what is it? It's like a turnbuckle, like
a flipping diamond cutter.
Like a flipping diamond cutter thing out of the buckle.
Have you watched her actual matches? Like not just the highlights, but watched her matches?
No.
She doesn't talk a lot, but she is such a good worker. What is her name? Let's see. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
She got hurt. She ended up getting hurt not too long, like a year ago, and she was out for a while, and then she just came back not too long ago.
Although speaking about other NXT, the Tiffany Stratton,
Sol Ruka.
Yeah. Tiffany Stratton, she does have the prettiest moonsault ever.
It is really nice. It is really nice. And that thing, and she can go.
Is beautiful. Which I think I heard that she had even said that she kind of named it, prettiest moonsault ever BME. After the BME, the best moonsault ever. Yep. She's like, mine's just prettier. And it's like, well, you're not wrong. Like, it is prettier. Just
it's pretty.
It's picture perfect. Yeah, love it.
And speaking of moonsaults, I did read a little thing not too long ago, just this past week, about WWE is now having some issues with trying to figure out if they really want to bring Mr. Fatu, Jacob Fatu, in right now, because he might actually overshadow Solo Sikoa's.
He does a nice BME as well.
Yeah, his might be the. Let's see, if it's not the best, it's not the prettiest, it's the
scariest?
I was thinking scariest, but then I thought, no, that was yours. That self-propelled diving inverted reverse brainbuster.
Mine was ugly. It wasn't pretty or scary. It was just ugly.
Mine might have been scariest because everybody thought I was going to land on my head because I would pretty much fall flat before I would even rotate.
Nope.
Maybe the most gruesome.
It as long as he hits it, it looks good.
Yeah.
I've seen a video where they're going over some of his moves, and one of them they showed that he like went for it and like totally whiffed the guy. I mean, his hands were barely touching in the guy's arm as he went on the other side. He just overshot.
Anybody
which you won't have that issue in a 20-foot ring.
Right. Anybody that's ever done a moonsault in a match at one time or another has either overshot it or screwed up somehow. It just happens. I've never drilled anybody.
I don't think I ever actually connected a moonsault on anybody. I think I missed every single time.
I don't think Dustin drilled anybody that complained.
No, I didn't. In fact, you can ask people like Trav and Gabe and
we can
some
ask,
of those guys.
We can ask Ruska again, because I remember one where he didn't complain, but you apologized when you got to the back. You're like, dude.
But Ruska never complained about anything. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You could throw him off of a 2-story building, he'd get back up and say thanks.
Yeah.
Do a brake stand with your car on him, and he'd be like, "Oh, good match."
I don't know. I did drill Horace, but that was that reverse inverted, and I need him.
Yeah, that was through a table, so he had somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might have taken the worst of that by landing on your head.
I did.
Or maybe surfing on your head.
Sideways through the table.
It was like you were trying to break dance.
So, Josh, you and I were talking, totally off that subject onto another one now. You and I were talking about the WWE and Monday Night Raw from September to January, and I just also read something else that they have come to a $25 million deal with USA to keep it until Netflix takes over.
Yeah. So we will not have a gap in Raw, which is good.
That's awesome. Yep. That would have been... They would have had to gone to YouTube or something just to keep it going.
But if you got Peacock, then they would have.
But not everybody's got Peacock. I mean, I don't know. I think they would rather.
You pay more than that at Starbucks.
I don't know if WWE would have put it on there. I think the whole thing is WWE was like, nobody's going to get this unless we're making money. So the only thing WWE might have done is they might have put it on YouTube just so they could make all of the ad revenue off of it being on YouTube live. Like that was the only other option, because I think they were just holding out and they're like, somebody better pay us. We're the modern day Job Squad. Pay us.
You just beat me to it.
So yeah, like that's what I was anticipating. But
so what else we gotta cover this week? Or did we? Man, we got most everything, didn't we?
I think
we were all over the place, but I think we covered everything.
A lot of stuff. I mean, there's things like the CEO against Willow coming up, and but I want to give that a couple more weeks before I make comments on that one.
So I did hear when it comes to Mercedes Moné and the CEO, I don't remember who it was, but somebody I saw online that came down hard on her because of her promo that she did. And I must have missed the promo that they were referring to that was bad. I watched the one from this Wednesday. It was a backstage promo, and I was like, that was good. Like, it wasn't the best I've ever heard, but it was good. It didn't make me snooze. So I don't know. I don't know if I just missed a promo in the last couple weeks that she did, but they were saying
the very first one was not that good.
Yeah, they were saying, why are we giving her a microphone? Like, stop it. And I'm thinking,
coming from somebody that doesn't get the microphone, right?
Well, it was a former wrestler on a podcast. I can't remember. I don't remember who it was for sure, but I mean, who knows who that could have been? It could have been Ryback for all I know. I can't remember. The ones that I typically hear from would be like a Bubba Ray or a Nick Nemeth. Those are the ones that are typically talking about it. But then it could have been like a Jim Cornette or an Eric Bischoff that wound up saying it too, and it just stuck in my head for it. It sounds like something that Eric Bischoff would say. I just don't know who said it. And I don't know what promo they were talking about, but I had heard it was a Wednesday and she had a promo and they're like, why are you even putting a microphone in her hand? And then I watched Wednesdays and I was like, that was a good promo. I mean, she acknowledged the accomplishments, but
sure.
Yeah.
I've had enough build up for her. Get in the ring and do something or go away. I've had enough build up.
Yeah.
But I think Adam Copeland's the only one that came in and their debut turned around in the very next week. Actually, not even a week. It was like less than a week, I think. And he was wrestling.
Right.
I think he came in on a Wednesday and he was wrestling on Collision that weekend.
Yeah.
Or vice versa or something like that.
Come on.
Yeah, because
And he was on a limited schedule with the Fed, so having just a handful of matches a year, and so he's actually ramped up his schedule.
So he did talk
Since
about
going
that
to AEW.
on Chris Van Vliet's podcast, and he said that's one of the reasons why he chose to come to AEW.
Because he wanted to be involved.
He basically
doesn't
said,
want to just phone it in.
I'm on the back end of my career. I already came back from a severe injury. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I've only got a certain amount of matches and time, and I want to make the most of it. So when they said they wanted him to be kind of a special, recurring a few times, he's like, but I want to be on every Raw and every SmackDown and every pay-per-view. I want to be here. I want to help contribute. There is a list of wrestlers that I've never got to square off with.
Because when it comes down to it, if you look at him only having, say, for argument's sake, some arbitrary number, he only has 2 years. That's only 100 weeks of shows.
Right.
And so he's like, give me those.
And what he was doing with WWE, 100 possible.
What do I want?
They were going to take that and cut it in half. He was going to get maybe 50 that he could even be on. And of those 50 shows, a third of them might be matches. And he's like, but
so he's
I'm a wrestler.
What, 15, 20 matches over 2 years?
Correct. That's essentially what he was looking at. And that would be on the top end. I mean, they were thinking of him more as a Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. And at that point, he's like, no, because there's all these guys. And then when he started thinking about the potential matches in AEW, and one of them he said, he's like, can you believe that he has never squared off against Samoa Joe?
Really?
And it was like, out of all that time, and they haven't? And then it was like, you know what? That might actually make sense, because when he was kind of on his way out, Joe was coming up and in. And then when Joe was then leaving and going to AEW, Copeland's coming back into WWE.
Yep.
So it was like, that would actually kind of make sense. And that would be a fun one.
So not to kind of button this up, but what do we have coming up? We've got the King and Queen of the Ring coming up in, 3 weeks?
I think it might be.
I think it's
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It's coming up. I was thinking it was about almost the exact same time that Double or Nothing is coming up, because I thought they kind of snuck that in on the same weekend or something.
Is it on the same weekend, or is it like back-to-back weeks?
Well, let me check here real quick. I'll pull it back up. WWE King and Queen of the Ring, Saturday, May 25th. AEW Double Nothing, Sunday, May 26th. Same weekend.
Ooh.
Same weekend.
Yeah. However, that being said, King and Queen of the Ring is in Saudi Arabia. So that's going to be,
an early show?
Noon? Like at 11 o'clock on a Saturday, something like that.
It's earlier than that, isn't it?
Don't
they do isn't that the 6 a.m. one where they usually do bright and early?
No, 6 a.m. I think is Japan. Japan and Australia, I think, is the one that they do that early on.
It was the Australia one, yeah.
Let me see if I can find it
stay
here.
up really late or wake up early.
Saturday, May 25th at 12 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
So 1 Eastern, and then Double or Nothing is the 26th at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Thank you for having a Sunday pay-per-view with a day off of work on the following Monday. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, because that is Memorial Day, isn't it? Oh, hey, speaking about the day off, I know this is a wrestling-related podcast. Can we talk an NFL-related thing? The latest talks that I'm hearing rumors of, they may be on an 18-week schedule versus a 16 or 17-week, which gives them 2 bye weeks. And what that does is actually put the Super Bowl on the Sunday before President's Day.
Smart.
Ooh.
But I still work President's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, so not smart.
Ooh. So we completely bypass for a lot National Hangover Day.
Something like that. Although, speaking about wrestling-related and holidays and stuff.
Yeah, sure, fine.
WrestleMania next year is
in Vegas?
Easter weekend.
In Vegas.
In Vegas. Yeah. Now,
and going back to football.
So,
okay.
Did I hear that Kelsey ended up getting traded to the 49ers? Did I hear that? Or was that just a rumor?
I think that was wishful thinking for a lot of people.
No, I could have swore I saw that somewhere.
No,
I made a comment. Can I just say my wife does not like me right now because of my comment about Mr. Kelsey?
What was your comment about Mr. Kelsey? Are you going to get the Swifties mad at us on this podcast?
Yes, it's the one where I told her, I said I was so happy that Kelsey ended up starting dating Taylor Swift. That helped her so much with her career. I am just so impressed. I love that. What a gentleman.
I said that to my girls when it first started happening, and they're just like, you can't be serious.
Yes, I am.
But yeah, when you said Kelsey, I wasn't sure if you were talking Jason or if you were talking
Travis.
Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Yeah, Travis.
Like it was. Here's the other thing.
He's changing his name to legally be Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Kelsey. Yeah.
Now, here's the other interesting thing about WrestleMania in Vegas. Okay, next year.
That's not enough?
Oh, no, it could be bigger. Because Vegas has the Sphere. Dana White is planning this September. Dana White, part of TKO with UFC.
Yep.
He is planning on doing a show in the Sphere this year. And he says it is going to be one of the biggest, most spectacular shows that you have ever seen. And he has such huge vision.
If that goes well, then
we could get Raw and SmackDown inside the Sphere.
Oh, just do the Mania in there.
No, not Mania in there, because you got way too many people. You've got to do that in Allegiant Field, home of the Raiders. But maybe the Raw after WrestleMania too.
Did he just say that as if it's one word?
Yeah.
What?
Nothing. Carry on.
Go ahead.
I have no idea what I just did. Okay.
Nothing important. Go ahead.
All right. So anyways.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The Raw after Mania, potentially in the Sphere as well.
No, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or
so we talked about wrestling.
Or what about the Hall of Fame induction?
That would be cool.
You know, they were talking before all the Vegas stuff. They were talking about being up at
Minneapolis
in the USA Bank arena. So that
I was panicking when I heard that rumor.
I was going to say, if
I was like, I don't know how I'm going to come up with money to go.
How many credit cards I got?
Right. I was like,
so we've talked about wrestling, we've talked about football, we've talked about UFC. Am I the only one really, really looking forward to Jake Paul against Tyson?
Oh my goodness, so desperate.
I will be sitting there. I am going to go to the movie theater, and I'm going to get the big jumbo deal of popcorn and the big jumbo drink, and I'm not moving from my recliner.
Oh,
it's on Netflix, isn't it?
For the whole 38 seconds that it's going to take for Mike Tyson to knock him out.
I don't know if it's going to be free on Netflix or if it's going to be a pay-per-view for it.
It's going to be cheap because I'm not paying for it.
Well, that's true. No, I'm looking forward to it. At the same time, I don't know. There's something about me. I don't like seeing grown men beat on children.
I'm okay with it.
In this regard, like
in
Jake
this
Paul's
context,
gonna
get a partial beard. Go ahead.
if you call that a beard, he can grow some fuzz, so he qualifies. So don't pick. You've seen what's his name, the actor. Josh, you and I were talking about it. I can't think of his name.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Nope. Martial arts actor. He was in a bunch of different movies, so on and so
Steven
forth.
Seagal.
Anyways, he was talking. No, he was talking about. I'll come up with it later.
Chuck
But he
Norris.
was talking. Stop it. Let me spit this out.
Bam Bam?
So he was. No.
Billy Blanks.
He played Spawn. He was also in the Dark Knight movie.
White.
In that
Jake,
scene with. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Jay something or other. Like, got a beautiful martial artist kick and whatnot. Anyways, so he was talking
he
about.
Spawn. Look at that, Josh.
He was talking about how there is no
Michael
way
J.
this
White.
guy is gonna. That's it, Michael J. White. So there's no way that Paul is gonna wind up being able to handle a body shot alone from Tyson, and because of Tyson's used to facing guys that outweigh him by so much, and that at the same weight, there's no way. And then the guy interviewing him, he's like, whoa. Tyson's got him by 30 pounds. He's like, it's even worse than I thought.
Right.
So can we take an over and under on how many ribs are going to get broken on Jake?
Oh, one body shot. Because you've seen the recent training videos where he hits that big, huge water bag.
Yeah.
And
Have you ever hit those?
Nope.
Those things are not fun to hit. I got a buddy of mine that owns a boxing gym. Shout out to Battle Boxing in Columbia, South Carolina. And he has the water bags, and he told me one time when I was over visiting, he goes, "Come punch my new bag." And I turn around and here's this big old freaking water bag. That hurts. If you don't tape your wrists up properly, I think I froze up there.
You're gonna.
If you don't tape,
you're gonna break something.
Do some damage on your wrists.
Yeah. No, I've been. There's a little bit of a memeing type stuff going on the internet of millennials, which I'm elder millennial, young Gen X, Zennial, hybrid, whatever they want to call it. But millennials are basically saying, hey, Gen Z,
millennial,
would you guys stop messing with Gen X? Because they just don't mess around, and we're not going to help you. We're going to stand out of the way. We know better.
No.
It's just like, stop messing with them. They don't play.
Seen all those reels? We are not the same. We are not the same.
No.
I got thinking about this the other night. How old were you guys when you got a pocket knife? 6, 7?
Yes, 6, 7, 8, something like that.
And now these kids, they got to walk around with safety scissors at 20? No, we are not the same.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing for me, like when I hear the Gen Z trying to say that they're kind of the same as Gen X, I'm like, no, that's like hearing NBA players saying they can actually compete in the NFL. Like, no, you guys have rules to say that you flop too much. Like, your rules are to protect you from getting hit. The only NFL players that have rules like that are quarterbacks. Like, everybody else has to get hit.
A prime example of Gen X would be like somebody who, I don't know, burning trash in the backyard and snaps fired ashes that come back in his face, burn his face, and his little brother is running around the house when he goes in screaming because he's in pain, and the other one just runs all the way around the house. And meanwhile, older brother's standing in the back cracking up laughing because here comes little brother just cracking up loud and going, ah! You just remembered that, didn't you?
What were you
thinking? I had a flashback. I don't know how many laps I made around the house trying to find you and chase you.
What were you thinking?
Maybe that's why I don't have any hair. I mean, maybe it just put them up.
Yeah, we're not the same.
So, since we're all over the place, I'm going to wrap this up for me and say this is going to be a shout out to my volleyball daughter, Eliana, who has taken it upon herself. You boys will get a kick out of this. She has taken it upon her to inform everybody, all the parents on her team as well as coaches from other teams, that a couple of weeks ago we went up to Knoxville, Tennessee. In the process, we stopped at an A&W restaurant to get some supper. And she got to looking at the receipt after we ordered because we're waiting for our food. She looks at the receipt and starts cracking up laughing. I'm like, what? And she goes, look, Dad, they gave you the senior discount. They didn't even ask you. You got me, little
You
girl.
let that slide? You and I are not the same.
No, I just told her it's not a senior discount. He just, in fact, looked at
A and W.
realized what I had to put up with, and turned around and said, "This man needs help." So he gave me whatever help he could give me.
That's good.
And then, of course,
I meant the A and W. I would walk back in and drop an extra $5 on the counter and marched out of there.
My smart-mouthed daughter basically looked at me and she goes, "That was good, Dad. That was good. Would it take you more than a day to think of that comeback on that? You still got the senior discount."
That's
good.
Oh well.
Yep. All right. Well, we should wrap this one up. It's Saturday night. We're recording this, and it's back-to-back Rampage and Collision tonight because they didn't have Rampage last night, and I'm guessing because of NBA or something. So, and we didn't have Collision last week.
It's on TBS, not TNT.
It's on one of the Turner networks.
Yes, that's what they said on Wednesday. It's on TBS.
I never know which network it's on. All I know is that YouTube TV just pops it up when I log in. It says, "Hey, you always watch this, so you want to watch it live?" Yep.
There you go.
I'll watch it tomorrow so I can fast forward through people I don't like,
and just stop on Tony Storm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm starting a petition. I want MJF back now. I miss him.
Yeah.
MJF.
I'll sign it.
He is our scumbag, and we want him.
Yep. All right.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Bye.